As we mentioned, the WWE held their third quarter earnings report on Wednesday. So, yeah, we won't dive too much in, but it was as Stephanie McMahon called it, another record quarter for the company, bringing in $41.6 million in net income, revenue of $304.6 million. They brought up that viewing on Peacock for their Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Extreme Rules shows all up year over year. There was a huge focus on what they have called the White Rabbit Project. They put a lot of focus on the success of that campaign and how it was a social strategy to send its fan bases to different platforms and go through QR codes and puzzles. The September 23rd number on SmackDown that was, blown up because of that campaign, and crediting Bray Wyatt with the success of Extreme Rules this year and why the viewing was up so significantly this year. So and by extension, showcasing their creative division, like that has been an area that has been under fire for many of these earnings calls in the past about the, television numbers and how that's correlated to creative. Like WWE, they had a lot to pat themselves on the back this quarter with, and they certainly did so. With Raw numbers being up 4% year over year, while USA Network is down 24%. So if you want to know the value of Raw to the USA Network, they average this quarter 1,866,000 viewers. The average audience in prime time for the USA Network is 609,000. So that is how WWE is swelling that average for the USA Network. It's very, very valuable to USA Network. Not as much in terms of the SmackDown to Fox relationship, but certainly for Raw, you can see that big focus on Clash at the Castle, and it would seem that they are Nick Khan stated as much, that look for more of us in the site fee space, where they got a site fee to bring Clash at the Castle to Wales, and then did a gigantic gate. It was about $8 million gate that they did with the enormous ticket prices as well. So it seems like that is a strategy they are looking for. Some of these premium live events is going to different countries and securing site fees for these larger events that they can stage. Just looking at a few other things here, they've sold nearly 100,000 tickets for WrestleMania next year already. Royal Rumble ticket sales have grossed revenue of over $4.6 million already. They're expecting that to be the highest Royal Rumble in history. And Stephanie McMahon brought up the fact that they are looking at several key areas that they're excited for, and one of them being potential mergers and acquisitions that is aligned with their core competencies. And she did not go into too much detail when asked about this later, but certainly any mergers or acquisitions, people are going to conclude of hinting around the potential of a sale. And they didn't get the direct question about a sale, nor was it. Stephanie was asked at one point about it, and when it came to acquisitions, she mentioned, small term things, but then in the larger scope, things that make sense for us, just really kind of just leaving things very much open ended. But that was, certainly something that you're going to take from that. They continue to, outright keep that door open for people to speculate and know that, we're open for business has always been the line that they have used for all of this. So those were some of the things that came up. Paul Levesque was much more focused upon during this call, along with Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon, and so pretty much getting all the credit for, the television numbers, the creative that they believe has, been a big factor in television numbers turning around. And Paul Levesque stating that we're looking further ahead than we ever had before. He's looking at next year's WrestleMania, how that takes them into the summer, into the fall. Also bringing up all the talent that they have been without, noting Charlotte Flair, Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Randy Orton, and the fact that they will be, key people when they come back. And that NXT Europe, they would like this to more reflect the U.S. system, where they have a recruitment strategy, partnerships, and kind of funneling people, whether it's to the PC that's there in the UK. It's also a great hub for them because if they are able to sign people, he used the example of India. It's a lot easier to get people in India to England rather than do all the paperwork to get them to the US. So that's another strategy for the UK. But what NXT Europe really entails when you have made all those cuts, I mean, remains to be seen. But it seems like obviously the show is on hiatus, and however they kind of change things around. But it seems like they want it to be much closer in alignment to what we see here in the US with the NXT system. And it was the return of the global localization term. So that has made a steering comeback way. Yes, they're back to
from
global localization. Also very bullish on Canada, they've noted.
A performance center in Canada, really?
Not a performance center, just in terms of their business in Canada, because their TV deal with Sportsnet comes up in 2 years, which was an incredible deal that Sportsnet signed back in 2014 for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Like, think about that, where, I mean, for an international partner to grab them for 10 years for Raw, for the whole package, the WWE Network, Rogers distributes up here. It'll be interesting when that comes due here in Canada, what the kind of appetite is for WWE content up here in Canada as well.
And if any non-sports channels might get in the mix.
Could it be on? Yeah, maybe CP24 will make a grab for it. Maybe YTV. There's not too many homes here in Canada that you can imagine a WWE landing beyond like the big two, I would say.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Beyond that, what was the mention, and what is the latest on the Vince McMahon case?
Oh yeah, so that was brought up in the filing, and Frank Riddick could not have speed read through this statement faster. But the special committee investigation section reads, as previously announced, a special committee of independent members of the board of directors was formed to investigate alleged misconduct by Vincent K. McMahon, the company's former chairman and chief executive officer, who resigned, not retired, who resigned from all positions held with the company on July 22nd, 2022, but remains a stockholder with a controlling interest, and another executive who is no longer with the company, that being John Laurinaitis, but not named. The special committee investigation is now complete, and the special committee has been disbanded. Management is working with the board to implement the recommendation of the special committee related to the investigation. For the 3 and 9 month periods ending on September 30th, the company's consolidated pre-tax results include the impact of $17.7 and $19.4 million respectively associated with the certain costs related to the investigation. And so that was, for the 9 month period, $19.4 million associated with this investigation into the alleged misconduct.
So it cost them that much just to figure out where that other money went.
Yeah, of almost a similar amount.
Okay.
The way that it works out. But I mean, the investigation is done, and the most you have of any kind of substantive action being taken is that they are working with the board to implement the recommendations of the special committee related to the investigation. Will we ever see what those recommendations are? Remains to be seen, but this could not have been, I mean, it was included, but it was hardly a focus of this call.
Well, they don't have any sort of like rules about informing the investors about some of the results of something like this.
I mean, this was what they believe is, their transparency.
Okay.
Well, we did the investigation. We have got the recommendations. I mean, ultimately the guy's gone. So, I mean, there's that. It's not as though it was, this is the person that is still running everything day to day. We've done our investigation, and we're keeping him in a position of power. I mean, he's out. So there is that, and it doesn't seem as though they're going to really be pushed in that direction either to explain any of the findings, how the years of this could have impacted the company culture. How has that changed in these past number of months? Are there related issues from this was operated from the top down with Vince McMahon for all these years?
And given what sounds like pretty positive results with a new regime in charge, probably not that much demand from the investors either.
and that is going to speak volumes to people that are just simply looking at the results. And would there be more criticism of all of this if business had gone down of what Vince McMahon did? And it does not seem that there is, much. And granted, these are not the outlets. These earnings calls are not the outlet for these kinds of topics to be addressed. It's something like this is a lot in the grand scheme of thing, not a huge drop in the bucket for WWE to spend $19.4 million. At the same time, it's like we have seen, lawsuits filed at just the, there was a great outrage when Vince McMahon had on one of these calls noted like how they're planning to double their rights fees and, putting that expectation out there. I mean, these are, sometimes it's, these are investors' money, and this is certainly, $19.4 million that was spent on, the actions of, two people that were pointed to in this entire thing. So anyway, more of this will be covered on Thursday with Brandon. So tune into that at 1 p.m. Eastern time here on the channel.